Hey gang, and welcome back. These videos are brought to you by Card Conduit, the best place to sell your unused collection fast and easily. 401 Games, Canada's top shop for all your hobby and TCG needs. Dragon Shield, the strongest sleeves for your strongest decks. Moxfield, the easiest way to store and share your deck lists. And Foil Armor, flatten your foils fast. In today's game, Kuzno wins the die roll and starts us off. He draws, plays a Plains, and casts Novice Inspector, making a clue token as it enters. Metalbender plays a Windswept Heath. Arja draws, playing a tapped Blood Crypt and passing. Max follows Arja's example with a tapped Spira's Headquarters. Kuzno draws and plays an Island, and casts an Heir Apparent. He then hits Max for 1 with the Inspector and passes. During the end step, Metalbender cracks the Windswept Heath, losing 1 for a commercial district. He surveils 1 as it comes in. Metalbender draws and plays a Cascading Cataracts, but not letting that slow him down, he's got his sights set to cast an Arcane Signet. Arja draws and plays a Swamp, and then pays a black and a red for Zuko Conflicted, passing. Max draws, and plays a Path of Ancestry, which comes in tapped. Kuzno draws, playing Study as his land for turn, and then casts another Heir Apparent. He makes a Rabbit token as it comes in, and then hits Metalbender with the Heir Apparent, and Max with the Novice Inspector. After that, Kuz ships it. Metalbender's main phase has a Tireless Tracker coming in before he plays a tapped Sacred Foundry, and makes a clue token. Arja draws and takes Zuko to therapy, drawing again with his ability. He then plays Bajuka Bog, exiling Metalbender's graveyard. And he casts a Rot Curse Rakasha and passes. Max draws, plays a Thespian Stage, and passes. Kuzno draws and draws again by cracking a clue token. And then casts the Secret of the Keys. This makes him another clue token. And he then sends an Heir Apparent at Matt and 1 at Max. They each take their hits, and Kuzno passes. Metalbender draws, and plays a Shifting Woodland, and pays 2 for a Nature's Lore. This lets him find an untapped Temple Garden, taking 2, and he then casts Toph, the first Metalbender. Metalbender then moves to his end step, and Earthbends on the Cascading Cataracts. Arja draws and makes a red mana with Zuko in his main phase. He uses it to help cast a Thran Dynamo, and then taps out to cast Mimic Vat, and passes. During the end step, Max makes his Thespian Stage into a Cascading Cataracts. Max draws and is always ready for mass land destruction, playing Flagstones of Trocaire and passing. Kuzno's got a Tundra, and casts another Heir Apparent, making 2 rabbits as it comes in. He then sends 2 Heir Apparents at Max, who takes the 4, and Kuzno passes. Metalbender plays a Rootbound Crag, making a clue token, and swinging the Tireless Tracker at Max. Max takes 3, and Metalbender passes turn. Arja draws and puts a +1/+1 counter onto Zuko, and then plays an Ancient Tomb. He then casts Firelord Ozai, and much like my audience who's watching this game, a Captivating Crew, and then passes turn. Max has got a Bountiful Promenade, and passes after that. During his end step, Kuzno cracks a clue token to draw a card. Kuz draws, and casts Dollmaker's Shop, and he then swings the Novice Inspector at Max. Max takes the hit for 1, and Kuzno then passes. During the end step, Metalbender casts Harrow, sacrificing a land to find 2 basics. He then casts Beast Within on the Captivating Crew, and with that on the stack, cracks a clue to draw a card. Matt draws and plays an Expedition map, and then cracks it, going to find an Inkmoth Nexus. Matt then channels Beseiju, destroying the Mimic Vat, and Arja gets to go and find a mountain. Metalbender then goes to combat and sends a Tireless Tracker at Max, who takes the hit for 4. During the end step, Metalbender then Earthbends on his Inkmoth Nexus and passes. Arja draws, and in his main phase, gives Zuko to Max. and then casts a Coercive Recruiter. As it enters, Arja targets Mathieu's Cascading Cataracts, and with the trigger on the stack, Matt taps it to activate a clue token, sacrificing it and drawing a card. Arja then steals the land. And he then swings Ozai at Mathieu. Arja floats a mana off the Cataracts in response to Ozai's trigger, and then sacrifices the land, and gets it back because of Earthbending. Yes, we looked it up, and unfortunately for Mathieu, this is how it works. He then uses the mana to activate Ozai, picking Propaganda from Kuzno's deck, which he'll cast. Matt then takes the damage, and Arja then passes turn. Max draws, and gets a red off of Zuko, and plays an island. He then casts Aang at the Crossroads, and he hits a Mirror Hall Mimic, which copies Aang, and sacrifices itself, and he gets to go again. The Mimic in turn hits an Icewind Stalwart, flickering Aang. And the next Aang trigger hits a Soul Herder. With nothing else to do, Max moves to his end step and flickers Aang with the Soul Herder, which in turn hits a Vizier of Many Faces, copying the Icewind Stalwart. This flickers Aang again. Aang gets him a Naga Fleshcrafter, also copying the Stalwart, but he then whiffs on the next Aang trigger. The Soul Herder also gets 2+1/+1 counters, and Aang will transform on Kuzno's upkeep. With Kuzno deciding to cast Ephemerate, blinking one of his heir apparents and making more rabbit tokens. Aang transforms, and Kuzno recasts Ephemerate on his upkeep to flicker the heir apparent again, making more rabbit tokens and drawing for turn. He then goes to combat and swings everything at Max, who blocks both heir apparents, the Novice Inspector, and a rabbit. Max does take 5 though, and Kuzno's second main phase has him casting Supreme Verdict to wipe the board. With the wipe on the stack, Mathieu cracks a clue token to draw, and everything then gets blown up, and Kuzno passes turn. Matt draws and casts Toph, Hard-Headed Teacher, discarding Commander Sphere to get back Beast Within. He then casts Lightning Greaves, and gets to Earthbend on the Inkmoth Nexus. He then equips the Greaves onto the Nexus as well. He swings it at Max. He then activates the Inkmoth to become a creature with Infect. Arja draws, playing a Song Mad Ruins, and then casts Balor and passes. Max draws and plays a Forest and recasts Aang. He hits a Restoration Angel, flickering Aang, which hits a Clever Impersonator to copy the Restoration Angel. Aang in turn hits Sakashima of 1,000 Faces this time, which Max has come in as a copy of Aang that is not legendary. That trigger in turn then hits a Preston, and after that, Max passes. Kuzno draws, casts the on-brand Hop to it, and then passes. Matt's turn has him moving the Greaves over to Toph, and then casts Cracked Earth Technique and Earthbends the Inkmoth Nexus up to 9 counters. He then moves the Greaves back onto the Nexus, and then activates the Nexus so that it has Flying in effect, and swings in at Kuzno. This has Kuzno gaining 10 poison counters and getting taken out, and Mathieu then passes turn. Arja draws and casts Kiki Jiki, and copies Balor with it. Arja then swings the 2 Balors at Matt, and picking the on-attack triggers, has Max take 14, and makes Matt sacrifice 2 non-token artifacts. Matt then takes the hit for 10, and after combat, Arja casts Toxic Deluge for 9 to wipe the board. With the Balors hitting the bin, Arja gets 2 triggers, and takes out Max with one of the Balor triggers, and then has Mathieu drawing 3 and discarding 3 at random, and then makes him do it again with the second trigger. Arja passes after that. Mathieu draws, and casts the Ice-Till Explorer, and then plays a Rootbound Crag, milling 1, and then a Forest from his graveyard, milling again. Matt then continues by casting Blackblade Reforged, and then animates the Inkmoth Nexus. And he swings it at Arja, dealing 1 poison damage, and he passes after that. Arja draws, and casts Ozai, and ships it. Mathieu's turn has him playing a Forest, and then Beseiju from his graveyard, milling each time. He then animates the Nexus again, and equips a Blackblade Reforged to it, and swings it at Arja. Arja Chaos Warps the Inkmoth Nexus, which has Mathieu shuffling it in, and then revealing off at top, a forest. He passes after that. Arch's main phase has him casting Necromancy on Baelor. He follows that up by casting Calamity, and once the legendary steed is out, saddles it with the Baelor, and then swings Ozai and Calamity at Matt. Arja gets to make 2 Baelor tokens coming at Mathieu, but doesn't sacrifice anything to Ozai. Matt decides to take it all, and Arja then sacrifices the 2 Baelors, and with them being sacrificed, Arja makes Mathieu sacrifice his Blackblade Reforged, and then draw 3 and discard 3 at random. After that, Arja passes. Mathieu draws and plays a Thornspire Verge, milling a card, and then plays a Plains and mills again. He then casts Green Sun Zenith, putting 5 into the X, grabbing Toph, Greatest Earthbender, and then activates his Shifting Woodland to make it into a copy of Ashaya. This means that Toph gives it Double Strike, and Arja takes a whopping 32 points of damage in 1 hit, and Mathieu wins the game. Game review time. That was an absolutely beautiful finish. I loved it so much. Ashaya making itself into its own land type creature so that Toph could give it Double Strike was beautiful, and it really just goes to show how strong a card like Shifting Woodland can be in a deck. For me, it's probably the strongest card this game just because of that. Otherwise, we got to see a cool Baelor or Balor or whatever you want to call it. Katara was, typical Kuz, which is basically jam Heir Apparent into anything that he possibly can, and Aang did the thing, but thankfully the table recognized that Aang was a threat and dealt with it promptly. This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, but it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.